So that guy I met on eHarmony? Yeah. We're out together last night and I step off a curb and snap, heel breaks right off my shoe.
Oh no.
So I say, hell with it, take them off so I'm barefoot, and you'll never guess.
What?
He leans over, takes off his shoes and socks, and now we're both...
You're joking.
Amazing, right?
At eHarmony, you'll find someone you can be yourself with. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up for eHarmony today. So that girl I met on eHarmony. Yeah. We're out to dinner last night, and like a klutz, I tipped my drink all over myself. Oh, no. And it's all down my shirt, a horrible stain, so embarrassing. And you'll never guess.
What?
She smiles, picks up her drink, spills it all over her top. So now we're...
No way.
Amazing, right?
At eHarmony, you'll find someone you can be yourself with. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up for eHarmony today.
You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 122, The First Thing You Lose as You Get Older. Today, we're going to talk about a type of muscle fiber you'll want to pay attention to and 3 reasons why your fast twitch muscle fibers matter to your ability to live with more life in your years as you get older. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to the podcast this week. You are so great for being here. Thank you for caring about your ability to continue to give the world your best for decades to come. How's the cleanliness of your brain? Did it get its wash cycle last night? The lymphatic system is your friend, so I hope yours is working like a premium car wash. Did you know that there are 725 Aesop's fables? I had no idea there were that many. My mom gave my little, at the time, boy a really cute hardcover book of Aesop's fables when he was a toddler, and it was always one of our favorite books. I'm sure you remember fable number 226, The Tortoise and the Hare. They have to race each other. Not sure why that would ever happen, and everyone thinks that the hare will win because turtles are slow. But because the rabbit rushes and is overconfident, he tires out before the finish line, and the slow and steady tortoise wins the race. In his book, The 10X Rule, Grant Cardone says, "We're supposed to derive the meaning that we should be the tortoises, individuals who approach our goals steadily and slowly. If there was a third player in the fable who had the speed of the hare and the steadfastness of the tortoise, it would smoke them both and have no competition. The fable would then be called Smoked." End quote. What do you think? It probably wouldn't be a story that has endured for 2,400 years, but who says that we have to only be like the slow and steady tortoise and not at all like the hare? You already know that I'm not a fan of the long, slow rot theory of aging, that getting older is an inevitable decline into less capacity and that we have to slowly stop living before we die. But I'm not denying that there are physiologic changes that happen to our bodies as they become more seasoned, if you will. If you join me in getting your aging plan on point, you will learn that one of the pillars in my Aging Like a Professional framework is to forge structural strength. This involves both maintaining or improving your muscle mass and your bone density. It's completely common for your bones to get weaker as you age, but with a little focused attention, you can absolutely prevent or slow the decrease in your bone density. Some other structural things we tend to lose as we age are aerobic capacity, strength, muscle mass, balance, agility, and mobility. That doesn't mean we're doomed. It just means that we have to pay extra attention to those things as we get older, which doesn't have to be miserable or your new full-time job or anything. We just have to act a little bit differently if we want to create abnormal results. You can definitely come up with a doable plan that addresses all of these issues and keeps you rocking for way more years than is typical. Something I had never really thought much of or even understood that well before, that I think is good to know as we architect our plan to age the way we want to, is that the first kind of structural loss in physical capacity to show up as we age is typically the loss of speed. Of course, we don't think of most 80-year-olds as being speed demons, so on the one hand, it's not too hard to believe, but I think knowing this can help us design a more well-rounded plan that can make sure that we're not unnecessarily limited later in life. If you'll indulge me for a few minutes, let's talk about our 3 muscle types. I didn't remember much about these, so it was a good review for me to go over them, and I think it will help you act more intelligently. We have type 1 muscle fibers, which are our slow twitch fibers or slow oxidative fibers. These, surprise, surprise, contract relatively slowly and use aerobic respiration to produce energy in the form of ATP. They actually have quite a few mitochondria, which is cool, and they produce lower power contractions, but over longer periods of time. They're also much slower to fatigue. Because our type 1 slow twitch muscle fibers are very slow to fatigue, they're great for stabilizing bones and joints, maintaining posture, and making frequent small daily movements. They don't provide high tension or powerful movements. In his book 159, Phil Maffetone has some interesting things to say about the power of slow twitch muscle fibers and why he thinks they're the bee's knees. So I would recommend checking that out if you're super interested in endurance training, like if you want to run a marathon. He says they can be specifically trained, and if they are, they prevent injuries, speed recovery, and boost the immune system. They're the tortoise, so don't count them out. Type 2A are fast twitch, fast oxidative fibers that have fast contractions that also primarily use oxygen and glucose, but they fatigue more quickly than slow twitch fibers. They also have a lot of mitochondria. These fibers produce more force than slow twitch fibers and are used more for things like walking and other movements beyond just postural control. Type 2B are fast twitch, fast glycolytic fibers that have fast contractions and use primarily anaerobic glycolysis for energy, so not oxygen. They have a lot of glycogen stored in them for fuel, and they are typically larger in diameter. They actually have fewer mitochondria. They produce high levels of power and tension, and because of that, they fatigue very quickly. They are powerful, but they can only be used for short periods of time. Most skeletal muscles in humans contain all 3 muscle types in varying proportions. The extraocular muscles that position the eyes have a high portion of fast twitch fibers and take about 7 milliseconds to reach maximum tension. The soleus muscle in the leg has a high proportion of slow twitch muscle fibers and requires about 100 milliseconds to reach maximum tension. Hey, I wanted to briefly interrupt to ask if you're curious about female bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, the kind that's usually started around the time of perimenopause. What it is, what it does, how it works, what it's like. If so, you should check out my Udemy course called The Basics of Female Bioidentical Hormone Replacement Therapy. The course goes over the pros and cons of using hormone treatment, which hormones are usually included with BHRT, how they're used, the lab tests that are used, some tips for finding a prescriber in pharmacy to work with, and how to develop a rough estimate of how much BHRT will cost you. If you've been wondering whether bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is right for you, it's time to close that open loop, stop wondering, and move forward with confidence. Enroll in my course today. As a listener of the podcast, you can get a special discount for the very best price. It's a no-brainer. I would just tell you the coupon code, but Udemy makes me change it every month. So check the show notes or go to www.healthcouragecollective.com/Udemy to find the special podcast listener discount code that's only for awesome people like you. Okay, back to the episode. People who do well at endurance sports tend to have a higher number of slow twitch fibers, whereas people who are better at sprints or powerlifting tend to have a higher number of fast twitch muscle fibers. Unsurprisingly, training in endurance or speed can improve the respective fibers. But interestingly, it's also possible to train in a way that improves the endurance of fast twitch fibers or the power output of slow twitch fibers. That's sounding more like the fable Smoked. As we age, we tend to lose muscle mass overall, but the first muscles to go are typically fast twitch muscles. The older we get, the fewer fast twitch muscles we have. And get this, the loss of fast twitch muscle fibers typically starts in our 30s. Crazy. Biopsies show that limb muscles from older people are about 30% smaller and have significantly more fat and connective tissue in them. Older people also have smaller numbers of muscle fibers overall and a significantly lower number of fast twitch muscle fibers. Okay, so as fascinating as I think this stuff is, I realize that you might not be as excited about it as I am. Why do I think you should still care? Is it because I want you to be a 70-year-old sprinter or an 80-year-old powerlifter? Yes, I do actually. I think that sounds super cool, but only if you want to. Even if you don't want to, it's so important to maintain your fast twitch muscle fibers for at least 3 reasons. There are probably more. First, since fast twitch fibers are primarily responsible for sprinting, jumping, throwing, and striking, we won't be able to move as fast, jump as high, throw as hard, or swing as forcefully if we have fewer fast twitch muscle fibers. And that's a bummer. I want you to be able to speed climb, hit a 300-yard golf drive, run an obstacle course, catapult a cow, or throw a holy hand grenade if that's what you want to do. The second reason to develop a plan that allows you to hang on to as many fast twitch muscle fibers as you can is that the loss of fast twitch muscles reduces our ability to do explosive, or what's the word? The kind of movement where you have to quickly pivot or do a little jump or shift your body weight. Not sure what you'd call that. Anyway, I'm thinking about when you almost trip and have to recover from that propulsion, or you miss a step or misjudge the terrain you're walking on. It requires some quick power to recover your balance or be able to quickly sidestep. And that's one of the reasons why balance and body control are more difficult for seniors. If we can maintain more of our fast twitch muscle fibers, we can maintain more of our ability to avoid trips, falls, and injuries. And the third reason to maintain your fast twitch muscle fibers might be the most important. Not that hauling ammo or avoiding falls are not important, but since fast twitch muscle fibers are larger in size and metabolically efficient, when we lose them, we lose a hungry furnace that pulls glucose out of our bloodstream. Muscles help keep us metabolically fit. Without them, it's harder to maintain our insulin and blood sugar levels in healthy ranges, and it's really hard to not have the food we eat get stored as fat. Muscles are pretty much magic. Go back and listen to episode 53, your 6th vital sign, if you want to learn more about why you should love and support your muscles. Spoiler alert, your muscle mass is your 6th vital sign. It really is an indicator of your physical resilience. Most people lose 5 to 7 pounds of muscle per decade after age 30. Sometimes nowadays people's weight creeps up over time too, but even if it stayed exactly the same, like John Stockton, I remember hearing once that he never gained or lost a pound over the 19 seasons that he played with the Utah Jazz. Not sure if that's actually true, but anyway, if you were able to precisely maintain your weight but still lost 7 pounds of muscle per decade, by the time you were 80, you'd have lost 35 pounds of muscle and replaced it with 35 pounds of fat. Not good for your metabolic health, ability to heal, inflammation levels, and more. And really not good for your safety if the majority of that is fast twitch muscle fibers. The good news is that you don't have to lose 7 pounds of muscle mass per decade. Like a lot of things, creating a life that's abnormal in a good way is about knowing what to pay attention to and then playing the margins a little more closely. Knowing the right things to do and then picking the ones that you love to do and have fun maintaining or even increasing your muscle mass as you get older rather than slowly deteriorating. I know a lot of people promote walking as a healthy activity as you get older. This is true, and I would never encourage people not to move. Walking is super awesome and you should absolutely do it. But it's also not enough to maintain your fast twitch muscle fibers. You for sure need to lift weights and do some interval training or sprint training. It's definitely worth your time and money to learn how to safely lift weights and do some intervals or sprints. These are all things that you can hurt yourself doing if you don't do them correctly, but learning to do them right and then doing them consistently will change your experience of life for many decades to come. Pinky promise. Intervals can be done with any type of cardio workout like running, cycling, swimming, stepping, rowing, or the elliptical machine. You could start by segmenting your workout into alternating periods of lower and higher effort. As you get used to it, increasing your high effort over time so it's more of a sprint. You can also end a more traditional cardio workout with a short sprint. There are designated HIIT, high intensity interval training workouts that you can find anywhere you look, I imagine. There is now REHIIT, which is reduced exertion high intensity interval training. Have you heard of this one? It is pretty great. I do it 3 or 4 times a week. Send me a message at healthcourage.collective@gmail.com if you want to know more about it. I won't spend a ton of time on it here, but basically it's a way to do only 2 20-second all out 100% effort, really hard sprints in a 9-minute period and get all the benefits of a traditional cardio session. You do have to be careful when you're doing an all-out sprinting for your life phase, but the metabolic and time-saving benefits are great, not to mention the activation of fast-twitch muscle fibers. Other explosive type movements are also great, like medicine ball slams and box jumps and stuff. And definitely lift weights. Low reps of high weight if you can be taught how to do it safely, not 40 reps with a 3-pound dumbbell. That is better than nothing. Never think of movement as bad, but you will get much more bang for your buck with heavy weight lifted correctly. It's so good. I am not a personal trainer, so take everything with a grain of salt, but I think 1 to 2 interval workouts a week and 1 to 3 weightlifting workouts a week is kind of a good framework to start with. Interval training also improves cardio endurance in addition to stimulating fast-twitch muscle fibers, and it takes less time than traditional steady-state cardio, so I think it's a win all around. Whether you're super into fitness or you feel like a bit of an outsider or a newbie, I'm a huge fan of the CrossFit philosophy of being an expert in nothing. Unless, of course, you are an expert in one certain sport, then you do you. But for normal people like me, I think if you try to be decently good at what Greg Glassman calls the 10 physical skills, you'll be set up pretty well. I know I've mentioned these before at some point, but it's worth a repeat. The 10 physical skills he lists are cardiovascular endurance, stamina, strength, flexibility, power, speed, coordination, agility, balance, and accuracy. I'll put a link to the CrossFit Journal in the show notes if you want to dive deeper. I think it's fantastic. But if you take a few minutes to consider whether all of these skills are addressed in some part of your overall training plan, you'll be set up for way more success than most people. If you enter your 60s, 70s, and beyond having trained your speed, coordination, agility, and balance, in addition to cardio, strength, and flexibility, your life will be much better than what is considered normal. You'll smoke both the tortoise and the hare and prove that even a 2,400-year-old story can be rewritten. Thank you so much for being here today and learning about saving your beloved fast-twitch muscle fibers. Next week, we're going to talk about what to worry about and what not to worry about as you look forward to getting older. Until then, use your fast-twitch muscle fibers today and don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.